So just a reminder, here I am, finally getting to hit record at 10 minutes. I'm in here every morning at 6. I get here early, I open up the lab rooms. I was in the other room here and then walking in this lab room at 7:40. And I spent most of my time setting up stuff in this room, coming back to here. Then I have the thing with the locked door. So your student voice weighs a lot. If I already got a couple emails from a couple of you. So if you send me, this only has to be a paragraph, not a page, just a paragraph, just stating that my instructor cannot hold class on time. And I'm really bothered as a student because he's running around having to maintain a whole nother classroom whose instructor is constantly late, having to go back and forth, I've even had to run downstairs to set up the HDMI cable and deal with that classroom because we have no lab aides present to help us. There was a lab aide this morning, but she was running a couple minutes late. But anyway, this is like the same problem that just happens over and over and nothing's getting resolved about it. So I guess it is what it is. All right, let's share screen here and let's take a look at the work. Let's go reverse. I even had meetings with students tonight at 9, 9:30, and 10. So I even was up late doing that. So because it was just a busy day, I was in class all day and then I was at my daughter's swim meet. And she did really good. She crushed it. But there's another girl there who's really good, who's really fast. And she's already got a full ride scholarship to UC San Diego, which is one of the top swim schools in California. And my daughter knew she would lose to her, but she followed her and was on her butt, like trailing with her. And she lost by maybe like a second behind her, second half. And I told her that's good. And then the girl had to be a bitch about it and make this comment to her like, well, I knew you'd lose like that or something. So that gives my daughter extra like fuel for the fire. She goes, I was right behind you, but what was funny, but then they did the relay, and that's the great thing about a relay. You do 4-on-4, and then they creamed them, they beat them. So she might be a fast swimmer, but it's all about teamwork as well. All right, Natalie. So it's a quick, by the way, I apologize. Last night when we met, I had to go to that other meeting. We didn't get time to look at your drawing here. So what I would recommend doing is you have, this isn't really a tonal study. So it's tone blocked in atmosphere, but I have no sense of light or shadow. So what I would do is, and this is the other thing, because this happened with a couple of students. I had a total of 4 meetings yesterday with students. I apologize, I did a demo in class. You guys remember that and how to do the tonal study? But what happened is it didn't render. It was dead. So we lost all that. So the way to do the tonal study is you have to take yellow and then you have to take red. Is it not? What? It is? We tried finding it last night with a student and I was clicking on it. Do you guys know what week it was? Because I was clicking on it in Canvas and I noticed there were weeks gone. And those are the days that the computer didn't render, that there was a problem with it. So someone's telling me that the videos are on Canvas, right? But you saw it? Because I didn't see it. I was looking for them last night. It was like right after week 3 into 4 when I did that study, right? Because if you find it, let me know and I'll announce it real quick. Because even I had a meeting with Viviana last night too. And then with Viviana, I was trying to show, what is it, Brian? Okay, there it is. Week 4, Thursday, second half of the video is me doing a tonal study. Okay, so, and what I should do, in fact, I'll do it right now. Just hold on. I'm going to go in Canvas and label it. I apologize. I should have labeled it correctly. I just labeled it, usually I put the name of the demo. I think that day I was in a rush to get out. So real quick, let me go do that real fast. So let me go to home here. 1 second. Let me go. It's called what? Oh, line crit. So it was week 4, Thursday. All right. Let me just label that. So week 4, Thursday, and it's not line crit. And then I'm going to put link options and call it line crit. and tone demo. All right, done. All right, so there it is. Now it's labeled. So it has the tone demo that I did on there. And if you went to my YouTube site, there are other videos I've done in the past showing how to do tonal studies too. Anyway, that's up there. So here's why this is important. Number one, you're adding a tone into an image that's 11 by 17. That's the first big no-no that we don't do. We have to shrink them down 4 on a page, because I'm going to follow this old expression that I always use, which is we design big, but we work small. So you have to be working in thumbnail size. This right now, if I click under image and go to image size, it's only, actually, it's what, 4 by 6. But I would put like 4 of these on a page. So the problems that are happening in this is that I have no sense of light. So it's not really a tonal study. Like I should be able to see in a tonal study, the light's coming from the left or from the right. Number one. Number two, the ground here is the same value here as the, hold on, I'm trying to move the cam windows over. The ground is the same value here as it is there. So we talked about in that demo, there has to be atmosphere. There has to be dark to light transition, because things that recede away from us get light. This is working in dark to light transition. That's fine. Okay, but what you need to do now, you need 4 of these on a page, and you need to try a couple versions. So one version will be light from the left, one version will be light from the right, one version might be light coming over our shoulders in this direction like that. So we might have shadows that cast this way in our piece. So we need to do those studies to figure out which one is going to be the best version to work forward with. Okay. So that's what I would do, is right now this is just has value in it. That's it. There's no sense of light, shadow. And then the other problem I notice students doing, besides working really large, is they're not painting in the white. And I talked about that in the demo, which concerns me because it makes me go like, who's not watching the demos? Like I do the demo. Some instructors don't do any demos. I'm doing the demo, it's recorded, and I went in and I paint the light. There's a difference between leaving just a whole area be white and hot. You can't do that. You got to paint the white light in, and you have to show how like light would be hitting an edge, hitting here, how it's going to go up part of a rail, how it's going to hit part of the stairs, and so on. And then the other thing too, on the opposite, the reason why we paint in the light is because white highlights have a degradation. They hit and they get lighter. And the same thing happens with the shadow. When a shadow's casting, the shadow goes from dark to light. So the line drawing's looking okay. The only thing I'm a little iffy on the line drawing, and sorry I didn't get to look at this. I realized after we left last night that I didn't get a chance, Natalie, to look at your line drawing, but I had another meeting with a student. I'm limited to 30-minute meetings, and I had 4 last night. So, and right when you emailed me, I had just finished 1 and then did 3 more. So this needs to go, it's getting too squiggly like this. I would keep this road nice and sort of straight like this, and then get these, the stones in there. Now on the stones, it's in your best interest to adhere to the vanishing point. If your vanishing point's back here, you want to have stones sort of like this, converging a little bit towards the vanishing point, because then when you swing the ruler over, they can be different size, but if they converge back this way, it's going to work. What's going against you right now is your lines are doing this. They're rounding. And they wouldn't, if they were stone, they'll go up and across. So they're not going to round like that. They're going to go up maybe like this. And what I mean by that is you have a stone like this, it'll go up, you might see an edge to that stone, and then it goes to the vanishing point like this. We want to reinforce the perspective in the piece, so it makes sense. And keeping it straight across, sort of like this, boom, that'll be the next stone. And then there might be another one here that goes like this. That is going to be 20 times more realistic to the viewer than you just throwing in curves on top of the stone. Okay. So fix the road, do that, work on the studies. And I already mentioned this. I'm not looking at any more work after today. I think I made that comment last class. I need to move to the other project. So if you didn't finish the project and you're behind, I can't keep reviewing going backwards. You'll need to get caught up, and you'll have to either email it to me or set up a meeting for me to review it, because I need to now focus on the next assignment, which is 2 Point, doing the demos and going forward with the next project, okay? Doesn't mean you can't finish it and turn it in. Absolutely you can, but we just might need to set up another time because other people that didn't fall behind, they got their work up, it's not fair to them and critique time. And then it limits my time to be able to do a demo or draw over other people's stuff. Okay, so from this day forward, for everyone, we're moving to the second project only. Okay, if you have revisions, I'm fine to look at it in class. All right, I'm fine to you can send it to me or set up a meeting and I'll take a look at it. All right, John.
Yep.
Good morning.
Good morning. I definitely went in there and cleared out some of the mess from Tuesday.
Yeah, it opens this area up, which is quite nice. Right there. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing I battle. You guys tell me what you think out there. You'll be our audience for composition. I don't know why the line, so there it is. You have a line here. That's pretty interesting silhouette shape. The mountains actually interfere a little bit with your read. The mountains might be being larger or smaller or temporarily gone. That's a key read, right? So that's a great read right there. But this is also a great read. And it attracts a lot of, look at the silhouette of that. And part of this even goes into here. So
should I get rid of that fancy bridge thing then?
What I'm wondering is, number one, I would get rid of that spike.
Okay.
I might find a way maybe to simplify this, curve it, and then I might come back here and do something. I saw this in the King Kong Art of book. They have these large, like tusks around, or they're like building spikes around part of the building. If you might be able to get in here and get some of these tusk shapes around there, that'll keep this read to be the primary read. Does that make sense?
Yeah. But if I do that, wouldn't it kind of take away from the spikes of the skull?
Yeah, but the spikes of the skull, you mean these spikes?
Yeah, just the whole kind of skull area.
No, it'll work as one piece. It doesn't have to be that tall. It could even just be maybe there's a structure like this around it that's made out of stone, you know?
Okay.
It could be just,
yeah,
it could be something tied in where then, we might see this as big chunks of stone here in the front. Like when I think of the Mayan ruins,
Yeah. I got you. I guess, that section is the focal point, and then the skull is the focal point of the focal point.
Yeah, this will all become one. See, it unites and makes that the dominant read. So if we had something that came, I'm just throwing out the idea, because if we have something that comes out like this, it works to keep it like locked in. And maybe there's I don't know, maybe there's torches, and maybe that's where they hang people from that don't follow the rules of the what are these people called again?
The Sloblins.
The Masami or whatever. Or the guy, yeah, whatever they are. I don't know. I just my concern is when you look at that read, select all, delete. When you look at this, that's great. But then secondary read, that's almost starts to dominate your other read,
Yeah, I see what you mean.
But I like this here. I just need to find a way to maybe we dull it down or nudge something down, or maybe that's why I was suggesting maybe this rounds more instead of having spikes that come out. It rounds with the head here. But if that's the entryway in, and it's this accentuated entryway, why does it go to a little tent or a booth, right?
Yeah.
I would maybe make that road come here like this, and then I would have large cement like stones like this, like Mayans did it, the Egyptians did it. That's your main way that goes up into there, you know? And then
yeah, I see what you
this
mean.
is symmetrical then to this, like this. See, like that. That's your animation pathway.
Yeah.
So part of there's two reasons why we do environments in film and in cinema, period. One is we are giving the animation pathway for the characters to get from point A to point B, which supports the storyboard artist. Number two, it's like an establishing shot of a piece, or then after we show that shot, usually in one point, we then cut into it and splice into a 2-point angle to show what's happening in the scene. Those are like the two main. So if I was you, I love this skull. I got a thing for skulls too. One day I'll have my mother-in-law's skull on our mantle. No, I'm just kidding. I always like, that's what one of the things I always loved about the Aliens versus Predator series and then the Predator movies is they keep the skulls of all the people they fight. It's like, it's a great idea. It's a great the whole idea was like, let's do what the men of Sparta did, but with aliens. That's all it was. But in Sparta, they would keep their swords or their helmets, you know what I mean? And they had rooms and they would keep all their victorious battle elements, but the aliens just keep the skulls of the people. They buff them out, which is pretty cool. Love that series. Surprised they don't do more of it. I think if
you're making a lot of,
what was that, John?
I heard a lot of the not all of them, but some of the video games based on the Alien series have actually been pretty good.
See, here's the problem with the Alien series. They licensed out the idea, and then anyone could buy it and make a movie off of it and do a spin. Like it wasn't one franchise anymore. You know what I mean? So people started doing their own game versions of it. Then there was a whole like Prometheus. Did you guys see that one? The whole Prometheus, which goes back to like, it was the story of man. Where did man come from? And it came from these white godlike superhumans that came down. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But it was a spinoff, but Ridley Scott's one of my favorite directors of all time. He's also a really talented artist too. He can draw like the wind. So anyway, but there's been so many, like one of my favorite ones was the last one they did where they had all these people were kidnapped from around the world and they all end up on this planet. And they're like, what are we doing here? And then they realize they're it's like a hunting preserve for the aliens. Did you guys see that one? There's a really smart doctor who was going around. He was taking a scalpel and he was like scraping poisons and touching people with it. It was really good. It's pretty darn good. Anyway, I think if you round this a little bit, and it was just an idea if you had something large and tall like this, because what I would do is look at entryways to old cities and ruins, and you'll see a lot in Egypt, see some in like Mesopotamia, where they have like, I would get this wooden ramp, I would hit it to wood, and then I would turn it to stone. And I would get stone up here going up high. I would have accentuated rocks in here. That really makes this to be important, you know? And if you did that, it might be one of those, what do you call it? Brazier or whatever, little pots that burn. And then boom, now we see the center line in there. Right now you're taking me to a hut on the side like I'm doing a COVID check-in or something, you know what I mean?
Well, the reason is because I thought the waterfall is what, is the pathway up to the skull thing.
But so this gets stairs up there. We're right on the horizon line. You could still have the waterfall coming down and going around all this like this.
Okay.
Maybe the walkway entrance. I'm not saying to get rid of the waterfall. I love the waterfall idea. I'm just saying it, like going to that tent makes me feel like I'm doing COVID check-in versus if I hit something that's center lined. And 1 point, I have like cement, I have like maybe a sculpture or a pot burning with smoke. Then all of a sudden it stresses the magnificence, and look at the wonderful overlap you get with that in there, you know? And maybe around here after the waterfall, maybe there is like concrete wedges built up. And there's these like weird looking angle things around it that look like teeth or something. And we get over here, maybe there's another one up here like this on the side too. And then we see another one in the back that's taller. That makes it look like it's this, like, not, I don't want to do a hand. You could make it look like bones, but it might be too much. But maybe there's another one in the back here behind that hut, and maybe there's another one here. See that?
Yeah, just kind of like to reinforce it's all part of the same group.
Exactly. You took the words right, the reinforcement of your current design. And then we round this a little bit more, get rid of some of the pointy things in there, make that a little more friendly. And then I might do the same thing here. Like I might round that a little bit more so it's not as pointy. Keep this. That's great. I love the mechanics. But then this guy, that a little bit. So this becomes more of a read like that than it does this. Right now it's an EKG rhythm, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Good piece, John.
Thanks.
Yeah, I like that better already. Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude. This is a little richer. It's not as bright, so it fades into the foreground. You have nice warms and cools back there. What do you guys think? Like it? Yeah. It's great, John.
All right. Sounds great.
Hey, good work. It's a great piece. I love it. Came out very nice.
Thanks, Phil. I really like how it turned out too.
Yeah. It's so funny. You know, I was even last night, Viviana has a really nice piece. She's working for the 148 class. And sometimes it's just like, you know, you get to a point where you just start tweaking or modifying things and it all comes together. So this was a great example of building it up, nailing the tone, going into color, tweaking a couple things, darkening things here or there, pushing and pulling those values around. And it's very successful. So excellent job.
Okay. Thanks, Phil. Appreciate it.
No, my pleasure. I mean, I look at that and I always come back to this. How many of you guys would agree if you go back to being a child, if you got to read that in a book? And there was some writing talking about, you know, in the you know, this village of gnomes where the gnomes lived and the magic, and you have this whole, a kid would hit that in their brain would just go like that, and they'd just be like, wow, look at this cool world, you know. So then what? Oh, the Smurfs? Yeah, I know the Smurfs are, yeah. I know some Smurfs are boring, you know. It's wonderful. John, I really think that everything that you're doing here, once you pick up, you're learning more about drawing characters. Once you bring that expertise in, I think there's really going to be a great place for you. I think we'll be able to find you, and I'll help you do this. We'll help find you a publisher that can help you start making children's books. And you might be able to make a really good relationship with them where you can just literally sit around and make books. And that could be, you know, like a source of income that might come back out. And then aside from that, something like this could also be used. It's just, you know, this could be a design for a theme park. This could be concept art for something else. So you're doing this wonderful work, helping everything grow. And that's
I like how you're talking about like the really putting the emphasis on the books, because I know that like when I've worked with you, you're like, what's Taproots? What's all this stuff?
Yeah.
And you know, that's exactly what that is. I've already been working on story ideas.
Yeah. And I think there's going to be a place, because we had, oh gosh, what's his name? What was the artist in residence that did the puppets we had? Just had a brain fart. You guys know what I'm talking about. Chris Sickles. Go look up Chris Sickles. Because Chris Sickles, go look him up, John. And Chris Sickles was our artist in residence here. He lives in Indiana. He's, you know, small town home, lives in a normal house. He's an illustrator. And he has a rep in New York that he does these little puppets and illustrations for. And his rep and him have a great relationship, and she keeps him financially like employed pretty much, you know? So
yeah,
that's, I think with all this work you're doing, you're building these portfolios, if someone doesn't swipe you up to do freelance and other things. So this brings up a good discussion. One of my students emailed me and said, I think I've decided not to pursue entertainment arts anymore. I've been out of Cal State Long Beach for 3 years and they were going to drop a course. And I get why they're going to drop the course. And I know that's a hard decision. Right now, there's not a lot of jobs because we're seeing the aftermath of the 1-year strike. So remember the strike we had with the writers and everything that went through? Nobody was writing anything. So if no one wrote anything, no content went through, nothing got financed. And now we're seeing the tail end effect of that, which is hurting everybody. It hurts the writers, the artists, it hurts everyone. Not to mention, just to throw this out there, not choosing sides. We're in a really weird economy. We're in really high inflation, which is going to lead to, whenever we have inflation, leads to a massive recession. We haven't hit that recession yet. We're hoping we'll come out of it. But one of the problems is we just keep printing money like crazy when we don't have reserves anymore. We just print money and just use it. So that's also going to have an effect on how, if people can't get loans to buy stuff, they're not going to get loans to make movies and make series and stuff like that. So this might be the next year or two, might be a hunker down year where you just sit down and work on your work in your portfolio, because there might not be a lot of things being produced or being made right now. The industry always goes through a cyclical basis and sort of recycles itself, and then it comes back stronger. That's weird. My camera isn't working. I'm all fuzzy. And let me. There, I'm fixed. Not fuzzy anymore. Anyway, good job, John. Keep it up. Okay.
Thanks, Phil. I intend to.
Good stuff. And you heard so many people were having fun in the evening class that they want to keep it going into the summer, you know?
Yeah. I was sitting there like, man, I wish I could join in on this fun. But I'm still trying to get the basics here.
I know. You'll be fine. All right. Jasmine, looking really good, Jasmine. Got some good value in there. So and this is a good example, everyone. Look at how she's built up the values. The values are all between like a 30 and an 80 right now. There's nothing too dark and then there's nothing too light. Now you could come into this and then you could start painting some highlights in there. Now I'm gonna lighten it a little bit and then I'm gonna darken your darks. See what it starts to look like. So actually, I think you're fine the way it was. If you get in here and start getting some highlights on the ground with white, you know, you're going to have white hitting like here, coming in that direction. It'll be a little bit brighter here and here, getting some little ridge highlights. So you have it built up where it's working really, really well. It reads well right there. Now we get some highlights in here, you know, some highlights on some of these roof tiles, on these edges, you know, get some pitted gradients in there, and then it's going to come together. What I would recommend, I notice all your roofs are light. Darken your roofs to like a 40 or 50% gray, and then paint little highlights on there. That makes sense? Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking really good. Okay, good job. Nice piece.
Thank you.
And then if you work on that, just email it to me and I'll take a look at it and reply back to it. I hate to say it, I want to look at any work from week 1, but I want to start encouraging people who need to be working on week 2, because if we don't get on week 2, you guys are going to fall behind. So just a reminder, we have after this week, next week on Thursday, I won't be here. After that, we have 1 week and then we're off. Our goal is to finish project 2 by the end of that week. So when you're off for spring break, you have time to either get caught up or finish anything that you need to do. Okay. Good job, Jasmine. It's looking really good. Put some white highlights in there. I would add an edge here to that. So white will hit that edge. And if you need any help with this, let me know. Your window here pops out of the building. It's going to be the opposite. You're going to have the edge of the window is going to be like this. And you'll have a a thing like that. Then you have the outside of it like this. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Then the window fits inside it like that. Get that edging on the window. You're gonna need that there. That'll help out. Because right now you have the window popping out of the surface. It's not gonna do that. There's gonna be wood trim and then the window will be inside like that. Okay, so this will round up around it. All right, it's looking good. All right, very nice work. I'm looking right here. We're going to talk about this today. You're on the right path. Ixnay that's a square. If you go vertical, you go tall vertical on the piece. Okay. Here, you're on your way, but let me just point out what's happening. You have almost the same thickness being represented in all the buildings. Do you see it?
Yeah.
So what we need to do is you need to make one building like this. This can be your focal point building. This can be very interesting. Then behind it, have a different size building. Then maybe have this guy, and then maybe there's a building with a different roof like that. And then we have a road or a pathway that goes to this, and then that becomes your key focal read building. Okay?
Okay.
Go back, re-sketch a couple of those, and that'll guide you a little bit more. And then the same thing's sort of happening here. We're back to that 1/4 inch thickness, and then there's no focal point. So 2 things need to happen on your buildings, you guys. You need to show the roofs. The roofs are pivotal in showing the outline of the buildings. So this shot here, it's a good sketch, but it's more of a medium close-up. We're in close. That's something a board artist would use to show a character coming in and out, walking on a pathway from. Now this is a lot wider. This is pulled back more. So that becomes more of an establishing shot, but we need a dedicated focal point. We need one building to be the dominant read that our eye goes to. Okay, good job. I'd go back into that one, redo it, and I'm going to draw for you guys in just a little bit. All righty. All right, Mr. John. You're getting really close. It's a lot better. It's easier to read, which is great. Yeah, if you make that a little bit larger like that, it won't even change the perspective. That will become your read. You see it? It's a little bit larger. Now your box is here. I would sort of bring the boxes back to the front of the building like this. Overlap them a little bit. Then that gives you room in there to get something else. Okay? Watch your perspective here. This guy's starting to get a little wonky because your vanishing point's over there, and that's sort of going a little bit further. Check that, and then also check this. That's the middle of your building. That looks pretty good. It's going to overhang a little bit. Get that lip in there. Just do it now so you don't have to do it later. And your light might need to be a little bit taller, because if someone here is that tall, they'd be hitting their head on it. So what you could do is, if the roof comes up a little bit more, and one of those wooden things that pop out of here, you might be able to come in here, get light, or have one of the curled like French lights like this that are in there too. Look at reference to that. Type in Victorian lamps. There's very particular influential lamp reference. They were cast iron, so they learned how to make molds. They would melt up metal, pour the molds, pull them out, paint them black. Okay. All right, it's looking good, John. All right, Eva. I see your windmill in there. I would sort of say, be careful of the windmill, because when you get that ellipse in there and having to draw the blades, becomes a whole can of worms. This is looking really nice. I like how that brings us this way. I think if you get, oh, come on, close. I can just close my whole window. Let's see, did I? Hold up real quick. You just get that structure a little bit larger over here. It'll start to work better, be easier for you. But when you do that, you might need to design a focal point building of importance there. So you can keep your composition. I like the rule of thirds. It's great. I like it on the hill, which is even better because it elevates it and makes it more important from everything else. But you might need to come in here and, well, number one, you're going to ask yourself, do I really want to do the windmill? Number two, it could be on the side of the building, or you could come in here and just sort of design a really cool, oops. You can just get a really nice building front in here that might be really nice with little, you know, pop out, a side pop out, chimneys, you know, maybe a side extension, you know what I mean? And you get that to be the focal read and look really, really important, then that would work. But what's great is the grouping of this is a great idea because that's your large key grouping. And then everything else over here is secondary to that grouping. And that's why I sort of enlarged it, just to make it the key read. Okay. Yeah, because if we take that off, it's just, this starts to battle that shape there. So if you make it larger, you're like, I'm the key read, and then you have to look at me. This is fun too. I like the buildings around here. This gets a little squared off, more like a Pueblo South American style house. So I would keep the roofs back in, but I think this is your better composition already. It looks nice. That way you can, now what's cool, you can just plot your points and work on designing that focal point area and do a couple versions of it and then come up with something really cool, and then it'll make it work completely. Okay, good job. Sure. Give me a second. Closed all my windows. I want to see if I can get it back open before they all go away. They make me sign back into everything. So 1 second, I closed them by accident. I did not mean to do that. Not that. Back. Still logged in good. Canvas. Let me just log in real quick and then I'll have it ready so I can take roll a little bit later. Sorry, I didn't mean to close that. 1, 9. Cool. All right, now we can take a look at the others. All right, Kevin. That's looking really good. This starts to look like it's going to be a large cathedral shape back here. Right there, a large important building of some kind. You know, that's really common in this type of architecture to have little, you know, cities and buildings and pop-ups around. Everything was centered around like the cathedral of the town. So if you look at like Chartres Cathedral in Notre Dame, any of that, it give you some really good reference to build that up. But that could also be like a building for like a magistrate too, or somebody of power. Do you have a preference for that? Yeah. Between churches or yeah, style building. Because it could also be the beginning of a castle too. oh, hold on a minute. It's got a text for the instructor downstairs. It says, nothing's happening because the battery in the remote be dead. I can switch the battery. The batteries are probably almost dead. I'll ask Regina to buy some new ones. Okay, sorry about that. Instructor downstairs trying to get the TV to work. Yeah, if you just look at reference, because you can even start to, some castles have like smaller walls around them, different heights. You know, you could have an entryway into this. Goes down, there could be, you know, structures around there. You could do castles, you can do an important building, you could do a cathedral. If you do the cathedral, remember that some of these, they went over 2 stories tall. Once they got to 3, they were using the flying buttress support like this on them, which is a side support that would transfer the weight of them being above 2 stories tall. So if you look at some of your reference, you'll notice that they had a lot of that present, the flying buttress support. So you could go castle with that. It's up to you. Just gather the right reference and then get it knocked in as you go forward. Okay, looks good. I think you could, if you focus, I would focus on the focal point in the buildings, because then when you get back here later, it could just be like, you know, like when you're on an airplane, you look down and you see planes that are separated. And then the way you mess with some of that is you put a tree line in front of some of that. And then you have, you know, a tree or bush line that runs along that. And then you might even back here see maybe there's another building or city or 2 in the back. It's really dull. And then you just sort of, you know, rake in the ground plane, you overlap shapes like that. No one gets concerned. This is just filler. All right, here, what's important is the detail of this structure being the key visual read. Now, where you have to be careful is right now, that's your read. This is larger than that. And there's more buildings and more detail. It might be in your best interest to do this. Let me show you. Similar to the problem John was having. So if we take this area and start to move it back a little bit more, then we take this area, move it over a little bit more. Do you see the difference? This becomes the dominant read now. This becomes secondary to that read. Especially if this is a little bit larger here. Look at that. See, it takes over more space. And what's funny, you don't even have to move it that much. You can move it out. And I'm just going to enlarge it upward a little bit. And then what I would do is I would do more of the grounds around it. Like there should be, you know, a light road that goes in here. There should be, you know, maybe a wall or perimeter line around it, you know, that's more defensive, where they can close gates, protective type of thing. So it's a little bit of both. You enlarge it a little bit, you move it over, and then there's still a lot of detail in the houses on the side. I'm almost tempted to take those houses. Maybe enlarge them, pull them back a little bit more. So you lose a couple more to your foreground. So it's not as I won't want that to be the read, right? I really think it might need to go over more like this. Now it dominates what's in the piece, and this stuff becomes secondary back here. See there, it's so much more. I mean, I hate to battle that stuff because sometimes it feels like it's getting nitpicky. It does compositionally help when your focal point is the largest visual read. But on the same time, there are cities that look like this, that you can get it, but part of our job is always embellishment, taking something, adding to it, making it work. I don't know, I would be fine either way, but I do think that if you made this a little bit larger, and even if you kept the buildings, this would still become the dominant read, especially if you get the flying buttress around it and the other details. It'll morph. You have larger area here and it'll make this stuff look smaller. So I would at least, in a minimum, enlarge that. It's your call if you want to pull the buildings over to the side more. I don't, I start to look at it and double think and go, maybe you don't need to do that as long as the castle area here or the church or whatever it is the dominant read of the piece. Okay. You're gonna have great room here for detail on the roof and shingles, stuff like that'll be really, yeah, exactly. Stuff like that. Maybe even a ledge with a little, they have those little wind things on them sometimes, and Tenegrin used to do this all the time. You'd always put foreground elements of buildings in so you could do the tiles on to make it look realistic. What are you going to say?
So you want a sketch for like Thursday or Tuesday?
Well, here's the problem. Everyone's behind in this class. Everyone's at different levels. That's why I'm trying to say no more project 1, everyone on project 2. People should be turning in thumbnails, but some people are working on thumbnails right now as we talk. So what would be ideal would be having a rough for Tuesday. Problem is, some of you are still working out thumbnails and haven't had a chance to show me. And we've been doing so much critique, I haven't had a chance to do a demo. So what I'm going to come back to say is probably next Thursday would be a final rough. But next Thursday, I'm not going to be here. Remember, I'm going to be out of town. So you guys will then, the goal would be Tuesday, show me either a rough drawing or a bunch of thumbnails so we can pick a direction to go into, send you on that. So when we come back the following Tuesday, you're now into a finished line cleanup. And then we would be finishing by tone, and then we go to spring break after that. That would be ideal. And, that's where, as a teacher, I have to try to manage the reviews, and then also I have time to draw. It gets hard to blend them in all together. Good job, Kevin. All right, Anna.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Let's see something here. They're all good drawings. Part of me likes expanding the frame up a little bit. The one up in the upper right is more of a medium close-up, because we're seeing, real close in there. I like sort of the wide shots. I think it's important for you guys to get used to having to do what I would call establishing shots and angles. You see how that would be better?
So you're combining. Oh, I see.
We have a wider shot, and all you have to do, I might even, hold on. Might even be able to do it right now. Your VP is over there. If we right click on this, go to transform, go to distort, grab that up a little bit there, pull this end down a little bit more like that. It almost matches your current VP. I actually like the bridge. So what I'm thinking of doing is putting a line here, or maybe about here. And then I might, oops, I hate it when Photoshop does that. Go this way. And then I might show how the bridge goes and lands on the other side. On that waterway. And if we come back, problem is your vanishing point's a little close. It's right about there. that vanishing point there almost matches this and this. Now, we have more of an establishing shot, which I'm fine with. If you want there to be one key read, I might take this building, make this structure a little bit larger. So
Okay.
that's your dominant read. Or maybe there's a side to it. And there's a main road or something in the front of it like this. That makes it very important. See how it's just a teeny bit larger,
Mhm.
comes the larger detail in the piece. You might need to move that point out because we're expanding the frame a little bit. But you see how wide you with the great view you would have with that?
Yeah, I was just doing these. I looked at them. I was like, these are probably all way too close up for.
Yeah, some of these, and you did it good, but here's the benefit of blending stuff together is, that's more of a medium close up here. This one's close up. So it's when we start getting multiple buildings in. If I just take that and flip that over and put it on the side, it works. And the same thing could also happen in reverse order. If we take this. You would have a composition there as well. Well, sort of. We'd have to change the fit, the other vanishing point. Just curious. Look at that. You almost get double streets there, right?
Mhm.
Or you could keep your little round guy there, but then problem is now what we're doing is 3-point. Because you have a point in the middle, a point on the far end, and a point on the far end, and that's 3-point. So if we got rid of the vanishing point in the middle and picked one out way back here, it would just change the angle of these houses of this into this. But then they would match up to this. And then you could still keep this, and then you would have another point out back there. But you could, it would change the angle of the street a little bit like this. I don't know if you need the waterway when you have that arch to the city.
Yeah, that's really the focal.
Yeah, so that archway is pretty cool. So that means we could come back, we could dump this and then draw something else in your foreground there, But I'm just showing you options. You have that option to blend into there, or you can take that and do that. And both of those, I think, are wider, nice, important views that read pretty well.
Okay. Do you have one you think that's a stronger choice?
What do you guys think? Do you think this one combined with that one? And it's sort of open in the middle, we'd have props there. If you got the right props drawn, like if you were back in here, and if we had, like something here, maybe a wagon, maybe there's part of an elevated building front here. Maybe there's some stuff here and stuff in the back. That one should work really cool because it has that entryway to the city type of feel. So that could work. But then again, this one is a great shot too. You just need to make that. This one works with that being a better focal point, I believe, because we can see it. But then you need to raise your upper part a little higher so we can see the roof and the chimneys and the other detail on it. I'd
Yeah.
probably go this one, I think, right there.
Okay.
All right, good job.
All right.
Nice
Thank
work.
you, Phil.
Sure. All right, that's everyone's work.
Hey, Phil, really quick, how long are you going to be on campus?
Well, I'm on campus, but I pretty much have meetings straight till 5.
Oh, no, you're fine. I was thinking about maybe stopping by before work, and then my mom made fresh tamales, so I was gonna ask if you wanted any.
Oh, that's not fair.
What?
Yeah. Are you selling them?
No, I was just gonna give them to you.
I will take them without any hesitation.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay, cool.
no.
Then after
I-
class, I'll head over.
I just realized something.
Uh-oh.
I have faculty senate today. Did I leave it in my car?
Oh.
I had a- Oh no, I gotta go home for something still.
If not, it's okay.
No, I
I'm
just
gonna try
realized
to go to the
something.
drawing event tomorrow.
I have
so
faculty
can
senate
save
and I have to bring food today, and I took the food and I left it sitting on the counter.
Uh-oh.
So that means I have to go back home to get it.
If you
But-
want, I'll try to save some for tomorrow. I'll just give them to you.
I'll have to leave my next class early. I'll just do a crit, then I gotta leave, go home and get it. I'm back. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, bring them tomorrow. I'm sorry. I just realized.
Yeah, no
I
worries.
messed up. I'll go check 'em
Hopefully they
out.
stay. I'm like, my family, my mom makes fresh tamales. Sometimes they go crazy. So,
Yeah,
but all right, sounds good. If there's any left, I will save some for tomorrow for you for drawing
Okay.
event.
all right, let's take a quick break. Like, I don't know, 10 minutes. I'll be right back and check in my car, see if I left the food in there. And then I'm gonna come back and do a demo and drop for you, talk about setting up points, offset, and I'll be right back. Thanks, Emily. I appreciate it. I love those tamales. They're really good. You should
Course,
sell
course.
'em, too.
Hopefully we can sell some soon.
Okay, all right. And then I just realized my next class, I'm just gonna have to crit and then leave early. I gotta go home to get the food and come all the way back. It's 20-minute drive each way. And I'm just gonna have to leave character early. I just gotta do it. So I knew I forgot something driving in here. I left the food sitting on the counter. We're gonna go make sure I didn't put it in the car real quick and left it in there. So, all right, let's take a quick break. I'm gonna go to the restroom. We'll be right back. And then I'll do a quick demo for you guys for the rest of class for today, okay? All right, 1 second. And let me share screen. I'm gonna start sketching for you guys. Actually, let me take roll real quick since we just got back. Find out who's here. Are you here or here?
I am physically here, mentally, I don't know.
John, I'm forwarding your message to the dean. Another one. Thank you for sending me that letter. All right, let me take attendance really quick here. Get it out of the way now. Emma is here. Saw you come in. Ivan, you with us? Ivan? All right. Maddie is here and Ryan. And then I got Sam is here. John is here. Kevin's here. Brian's here. Emily. Emily, I saw a sign on the door across the hall that says, Emily, I left your charger in the office. Is that you?
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure it's not
Okay.
me.
Someone left a big sign that says, Emily, your charger's in the front of, the side room next to illustration. That,
Oh.
Yeah, anyway, I didn't know if it was you. Is
Probably
Ashley
not.
here? Ashley? No, Ashley. Isis? Ashley Packner. Isis? Isis here? No, Isis. Kelsey is online.
Here.
Is here. Jennifer Pena, right there. Thanks, Jennifer. Jasmine was here. I saw Natalie. Ava's here. Jenny Tran. Jenny. Jenny. And 1 minute. Let me get, is Hector here? No, Hector. What about V? V here? No, V. A lot of people absent today. Isis is not here. Ashley's not here. Ivan's not here. Okay, 1 second. Let me do the other course. Getting worried about people coming up to midterm in just another 2 weeks, right before spring break. And that's where everyone's all of a sudden, spring break, everyone comes back from spring break and they're like having a week off. They're just lost to the wind. And like, no, you got to stay motivated, keep getting your work done, keep, doing good stuff. Itself is here. Viviana, I saw. Noah's here. James is here. Anna's here. And then is Ren with us? Ren? No, Ren. Okay.
No, I'm here. Sorry
Oh,
about
there
that.
you are. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Thank you. All right, cool. All right, let me draw. One of the first things I want to remind everybody, Do we talk about measuring lines yet? Measuring lines? Not in this class? Okay,
I
let me
don't
show you what
think so.
Okay. So when you're doing, by the way, I do my thumbnails large because of the screen. I don't draw like this at home. At home, I go small and I crank them out tiny. And I still prefer to do my thumbnails on normal paper. Just the reason why is because digital, you want to zoom into it. Yeah, of course, always. Mention that at the beginning of the term. You could do traditional thumbnails and then go digital later. Absolutely. I still prefer to do that because I really work in a 4x6 box. And then I'm not that the downfall of digital, because I've seen this happen, is you guys are just you're I don't know how to say this, but you're zooming into the word. So when you go to zoom in to see it better, you're increasing your work time by double or triple fold. That's the problem that's happening, you know, so. Right, what is going on with Photoshop? Let's figure it out. Okay. All right, so here's a little secret for you. If you have a horizon line in a piece, so I'm going to do this as an example here just so you can see it, then I'll delete it. I'm on another layer here. Say you have a horizon line that's right here in the middle of the piece, okay? Come on, Photoshop, draw it straight. There it is. If I have a vanishing point that's going to be really far off the edge, the number one problem with 2-point perspective is students want to do this and they keep their vanishing points too close. The problem with that is this. If you keep your vanishing point super close, you have a limited cone of vision, which is right here. And the example to that would be if I were to draw a square in this space, recede that back that way, recede it back this way, looks like a square in 2-point. But if I come out here and try to draw a square, it doesn't look as good, does it? It's starting to get contorted, starting to bend. That's too close to the vanishing point. The other problem that happens is we get a high transfer of scale, meaning that we have something that tall here, and then we go just an inch away, and it gets really, really small very quick, and it doesn't look right. And because of that, most people that draw in 2-point tend to get a line down the middle, and they have a building that goes like this, and a building that goes like this. So in the perspective class where we do environments, I teach this, and I teach 1 2-point, and we do 2-point upshots. We do 3-point, 4-point, 5-point. We do pans on multiple vanishing points. I explain how everything works. Okay. So how do you fix all this? Well, the way that you fix this is it's okay to have one vanishing point closer like this. But then you need to have another vanishing point further away. By the way, here's the other problem of having your vanishing points too close. If your frame is like this around your piece, there's nowhere to move your frame because you have 2 points right on the edge. So we can't reframe a shot. We can't adjust it. So if your director comes in and goes, hey, I really like your buildings here, make them larger and pull, you know what, why don't you pull it out and adjust your frame to the left? That's a complete redraw. There's nothing you can do to fix it because your points are too close. Okay, so this is how we fix that. You can have a vanishing point in closer like this. So what we do, we come over to here, we put a line right here. We call this a measuring line. So that line that's right there, what I'm going to do is now I'm going to come off of my screen, and I'm almost about a foot off my screen right now with my ruler. And I'm holding my ruler and I'm putting in angles like this. And these angles represent the pathway to the vanishing point. And then I could come in here and do this. And I can put a couple trace lines. I usually do about 3 that guide me in back to that area. And then when I'm here, I do the same thing going upward like this. So I'm holding my ruler, it's pivoted, and I'm mapping the angles of my vanishing point being massively off the screen. Like so. Okay. So, and then, I was going to do this too. Hold on, I didn't do it. I didn't put the 3 lines. Let me come back, double check my lines. There we are. So I can get a line up there, get a line about there, and one about here. So now when I go to do my thumbnail, I have a vanishing point that's really far off the picture. And now I have the ability to reframe or move things left or the right. Now, I could keep my other vanishing point here on the edge of the paper if I want to, but if I want to also do the same thing, I could do a measuring line on the other side. I can pull that really far away. Now, so that's the first thing, is pulling those vanishing points out so they're not super close. The second thing is we have something else that we do that's known as an offset. And I'm going to show you what the offset is. The offset is when we put a point in, it's actually us doing half of 3 point. So if I put a point in right here, like that, what an offset does is it allows me to still get a building in. But then here's the catch. These lines that go left to right are going back to the secondary vanishing point like this. So when I make a line here, I just make sure my line is lining up correctly with my measuring line. If you go to make a line and you do this, and your line's like that, it's totally incorrect, because you can see that that angle does not match between the other two angles. So now I don't have to plot a point. I can take my ruler and I can just line up my ruler in the middle here, and I can create a line like that. And I know it's going to be accurate because I'm matching the angle between the other 2 points. Okay. And then even here, it's matching that angle. I can still get a very effective line like that. All right. So that's really important to do. The benefit of an offset is this. I'm just going to rough it for you real quick. Why can't I see my brush size anymore? It's on, it's not tab. There's a cap lock's on. There it goes. Yeah, that's what it was. So the benefit of offset means I can have a building like this. My foreground. And then I could still squeeze in another building here on the side. And I can still, it's really tiny back there, but so I could still have a city street on one side, which is really cool. That's a benefit to me. Then I have this wide open area all the way out here to then come back and start constructing. So, and it gives me like pretty much like multiple views. So what I could do is I could come out here in my piece. Let's say I have a really large, interesting building here. Say I have a roof. It's going this way. So now I'm drawing super large. Do you see how I can still map out, and I got plenty of room here to have buildings, and I have plenty of room here to have foreground, and I can still come back in here and have stuff here. So by doing an offset, it gives me a really interesting composition where if I have especially with interiors, this works as well, having one point in the middle and then the other one really, really far. Now I can reframe a little bit to the right. If I go too much to the right, I'm going to need another vanishing point, but I can still reframe another inch or two to the right. And I have plenty of room to come back and reframe like this. So if I look at my piece and if I get a frame like that, that's fine. And then if my director goes, I really like it, pull out a little bit more and show me more to the left, I have plenty of room. And then I could still pull out an inch or two this way, as long as I keep the side of the building going parallel like this. If this side right here goes left to right and stays that way, I can still do that really quick. So if I was to do that, because to me, that's half the battles. When you show a rough drawing to somebody, they're going to come in and have you change it or adjust it. So if I come here and go back under, let's go under image size. Excuse me, canvas size, image, canvas. If I had to punch out my frame to the side here, I could just come back and say, I want you to be 22 inches to the right. And there it is. And then I just come back and I fill that with white. So do you see how I could still draw a building then going this way? And actually, excuse me, it's going to be matching the line going back this way, that vanishing point. So, and that'll be going this way a little bit. Now, it starts to feel a little crooked. So that's why I can only go an inch or two this way, but I can still reframe out to here. That's huge, but I can do that. In this, matching the perspective actually does not feel that crooked. I can still get signage in here, you know. I can get detail on the front. I could have windows in here. I can do anything that I want. I can have edging, trim, stuff in here. I have windows up in here. So I can still get quite a bit of detail by moving to the side. But if I go any further than that inch or two, you see how that's angling? The human eye will catch that angle right here. And it's going to feel weird because it's an obtuse angle. What's happening in that is this. Just to explain it, we're going to do this next, is if you take a horizon line, you have a really wide frame. And if you put a vanishing point in the middle, and one out here on the end, and one out here on the end, you're creating what we call a 3-point curve like this. We use that in pan shots all the time. And the shot looks like this. What I'm basically doing right now in an offset 2-point is I'm framing my frame like this. And I'm not going this way. If my director made me go to the right side even further than what I've done here, I would introduce another vanishing point way off out here. And then I would start to curve this building in that way like that to the other point. That's how I could save the drawing. But guess what? That's savable because I have 1 point in the middle, 1 point on the end, and I have plenty of room to reframe out, and I have plenty of room to go out to about here, about 2 inches out. But then if I go further than that, I have to add the other vanishing point automatically. But that's easy. That means all I have to do is go into my drawing and erase part of this, meaning that the blue line is just going to curve a little bit more like this and come down around. That's fine. The eye won't know it. All I erase is that. That's like 6 minutes of drawing. And then I can still get a really wide angle shot by adding in that other point. Okay, so, but here's the thing about this. If you have this, and you have a point here and here, you have limited options that you can do. The only way you could save a drawing with 2 points super close like that is this way. If 90% of the drawing proceeds to 1 point like this, we have a whole row of buildings all going that way, I can take this point here, move it out, and all I'm going to affect is this angle of the building right there and there. Does that make sense? That's the only other way to be able to expand a frame. And then I cannot expand a frame to the right, because if I did, I would have to, it changes everything, and then it brings us back in. It's just not as easy to do when that point's in there. The problem is all the buildings are converging to that point, and it won't look good. Okay, so that's what we call an offset 2-point, why we use an offset, and then why we would also want to have how we use measuring lines and why we pull vanishing points way off to the left or the right. By pulling points off to the left or the right, you notice like in John's work and a couple other students' work that already had me in perspective and a couple other classes, they know this already, because then it gives us full ability to expand left or right, move up and down, add to buildings, take frames, move frames in and out and do truck-ins or do pans. You can't do that stuff if you don't pay attention to them, okay? It's really important that you get that sort of down and remember it. Because if you're doing thumbnails right now and your points are too close, I'm the bad guy because I'm going to look at it and the first thing I'm going to say is your points are too close, which means you have this fan effect. You tend to have lines in the middle that are very vertical and the drawing won't look nearly as good. Okay. All right. Next thing I wanted to talk about really quick is angled hills and planes. All right. So for this example, I might have my horizon line a little bit higher out here. I can still do it in the middle. It's fine. Angled hills and planes. What does that mean? I'm going to do this in offset, but you know what? Let me do it like this. Rough line here. Here. Then I'm going to come here. Quick line. Just through a real quick measuring line. When I do my measuring lines, I do them super fast. I just go like this. I plot a point, come to my ruler, and just really quickly just sort of etch a couple of notches in there. This is my right hand, so I got to put my drawing hand back on the edge of the ruler to get it spun so I can see my angles in there. Okay. Same thing here. Up. Right. Sorry to check the plate. Put one or two lines this way, just so I can see the grid and see what's happening. That's all. Okay. Angled planes is this. We have our points matched up. If you think about, like this could have worked in, it was working in Kevin's drawing. If you raise a hill here like this, and if you think of having a hill like this on the side, and then you draw a building or a church or something here, and then you draw the rest of the city out around here underneath it, this will always dominate and will work because it's angled and lifted above the rest of the drawing. It's a great approach to doing things, okay? And it makes it a lot easier. Another benefit of an angled plane is having something like this, where you can have, we call like a hill shape in front, and you can end up having a structure or house on that. And then you have stairs and recede off of it. And these stairs are bringing you back down to the ground plane. Okay, hold on a minute. I did a cheat on that. I should have brought it out more like this. Trying to do like a rock mountain area, something like that. That will work too. Okay. If this is lifted and then you have other houses and stuff out here, just draw the basic shapes. And then if you come back here, then have another angled hill or plane. And then here you have your castle structure. We can do castles in this. You just got to look at reference and understand how castles are made. It's a certain way to construct them. They're made with fortifying walls around the outside. They have interior walls, usually made on hills to protect against attacks. It gives them the higher up position. It's the same thing like any classic combat military always wants to have the higher ground. So if I have a castle that's in the back there like that, and if it's elevated, that will totally work on my composition. It'll become part of the dominant read. And I could even lower any structure here or make this smaller in terms of scale. I can set part of my scale and then I could change it. So if I erase what I just put in here, like so, you see how important that castle is being elevated above there, above the rest of my piece. So I might go into this and I still have room too get my castle even higher. Castles have tiers, they have little pop outs. They have a place where the king or the queen sit. I think some of the best castles to look at are the castles in Germany and Austria. They're magnificent. And there are some really beautiful castles in parts of Eastern Europe that are sort of been derived from part of the Orthodox faith and the Byzantine. One of my favorite structures, do you guys know what Hagia Sophia is? Hagia Sophia it looks like something out of Star Wars. It was built by the early Byzantine Christians, and then it was in a part of northern Turkey, which has now been taken over, and then it's now a mosque. And so you can visit it and go in it, but it's a religious prayer for Muslims, and it's not related to or owned by Christianity anymore. Here, I'll pull it up and show you what it looks like. It's quite a beautiful place. It's amazing that we have something like this. It's one of the 7 wonders of the world. You're going to look at it and it looks like something literally out of the Star Wars movie. This is where they got most of the ideas for some of their large, there it is right there.
Oh.
See that? So it has, so look at the ground level. Look at how much elevated it is. You see it going up in tiers, and then it has these large cornices built. It has these, this huge rounded inside. It has secondary areas around there. It's pretty amazing place. And then if we even come back here, looking at it at the ground level, then you're like, man, it does look like something out of Star Wars. It's this huge building. So if you start, and then the inside is magnificent. It's huge. And none of that would have been able to be built without the use of the Roman arch, supporting all the weight and the height of that. I mean, look at how high it goes all the way up there. It's pretty cool. It's pretty wonderful to see. I mean, look at that whole giant. I mean, look at that. That just doesn't look like anything you have. And again, here you are at ground level and you're like up, 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 up again more. And then you're up here and you have the whole entire, it's pretty amazing structure. So if I'm going to draw something like this, when I do thumbnails, I always like to think to myself about how do I break the standard thumbnail? The standard thumbnail is everything being on the same ground plane, right? That's what 90% of all artists do. So if I immediately think about raising things, it's going to make my drawing a little bit more appealing and interesting. Going back to get it in my next class. So I'm going to come back here and erase this. I'm going to start, actually like that as a placeholder, but I'm going to move it over to the side real quick. And then I'm going to start sketching. It's okay there. I know everyone's always, well, the rule of thirds. Yeah, I know the rule of thirds. It works, but sometimes we can also shift things. That looks a lot better being about right there. So I'm going to think of having a castle back there, and then I'm going to go into part of my drawing right now and start to manipulate some of the buildings and structures in here in 2 Point. Okay, so let me figure out, just thinking about having a building that comes up this way. So funny, some people, when I sketch, I don't know, always think about how stuff pops out and, might have, come back in here, these angles here might be something about there. That angle there is about there. That way it allows me to see part of the street. So I want human scale would be like there. So if I look at that scale, that means that would be maybe about there. So I'm always planning scale out in the back of my head, thinking about heights and relationships. So I'm thinking, I love having roof lines that intersect into part of my composition. I love signage. It's out and hangs. Then I get to sort of match up lines. I have a line going back this way. I have another line here. So those trace lines I put in there allow me to see some of the change in what's happening in terms of scale. So that looks pretty cool. And again, just I take it one thing at a time. I just sketch in a couple buildings, try not to get too much detail. I could come back later and finesse other little areas of detail into the sketch. I have that scale there. Maybe this has a dormer on it, love dormers, right? So part of my dormer is going to come out. It's going to be, maybe it's a rounded top dormer. If it has that little, one of those little decorations that goes into the roof line, maybe my roof line comes up. That might be a reason later for me to go in and expand some of that. I might come in here and think of like just real loose. Maybe there's tile or a walkway. I like this hill, but after I drew it once, I come back and I go, wow, it's actually a pretty large hill shape. So I might carve into that a little bit. I like the stairs. Might bring the stairs a little bit closer. So I'm thinking about maybe taking this hill shape and doing this, carving into it. Maybe I see part of that back. And then maybe being an elevated hill, maybe there's another hill here like this. So this connects and I might have, it goes back this way. Let me draw a dotted line back here. So I might bring this closer so I can see another plane here, which means I can have another structure back here. So if I come up here and start sketching a little bit, thinking about a building being here, come back, check my vanishing points. Again, I need my measuring line in there. So I'm thinking maybe I have part of this come like this. And, let me erase some of that back line in there. So what I'm doing when I'm sketching is I'm matching up points, but I tend to leave out some of the detail and just go for some of the core structure real quickly. Let me see, I might have a building here. Maybe this building maybe it has two roofs. Maybe it has a lighter roof. So match up that angle. That feels, so you can't see it, but this is what I'm doing in my head. I'm looking at that angle, which now I know this angle's off back there a little bit because I have a couple trace lines going there. And then maybe hold on a second, that angle's off. That needs to go a little bit more like so. Try to match up some of the perspective and get it working right from the beginning. And then later on, I can come back into it and I can finesse part of the sketch a little bit more. So maybe the other roof is up to here. Then maybe that comes back this way a little bit more. I like to get the idea out first, because then when I get the idea out, I feel like it aids to another idea and gives me another direction to go. So as long as trying to match the perspectives again, so I'm drawing off, I'm always checking my ruler on my measuring line right there. So I like this idea. I do this quite a bit. If this is on an elevated plane here too, maybe this drops downward like this. Maybe there's another set of stairs here that go this way. And I can do those stairs a little bit later. So this is another overhang from the side of that building. And then not only that, let's get some lines in here. Maybe I have part of a street go this way. Maybe I have part of the street that goes this way. So I might even be able to get in another structure tied into this. Maybe this has another. So now you pay attention, look where my horizon line is right there. I'm going slightly under my horizon line. So I need to make sure I'm getting that. It's a very slight angle, but see it does go that way. So maybe this roof, I wanted to try to squeeze let me do it here. Take that off. See if I can squeeze a jet out there. And maybe I could see the stairs like this, go down to the ground level a little bit from that side. So I try to avoid too much detail. I'm just sort of thinking about silhouette reads right now. But you see what I'm going for with this large focal point in the middle being that castle, and then smaller buildings around here. And then I don't know why I just had this idea. Since I drew this hill here, this could be really cool. That angle's off. So I'm matching angles, always checking them. I could have roof be right here. And the roof drop down like that because I'm still elevated. Look at this hill I'm on. And I still have this structure. So let me resolve some of this here. Maybe I have part of a structure here. Put a couple trace lines in so we can see the directions of the tiles. Have a dormer that's here. I'm going to stick that line. You can see it right there, goes to the vanishing point. So my hill should maybe look like it's adhering to that line. I'll put a couple rocks on the edge, make it look like it's, an edge there. That line's super crooked. Maybe there's a cut through here and there's a door. My door is like right here. And then this is oops. And make my brush a little thinner here in the foreground. This is going to be coping for a roof. So if I go back to my line was right about there on my line. So that would be the top line detail of that roof. This will have a coping tile that pops out. And it tends to go, I already screwed that up a little bit. It goes from thinner to thicker. So I'll go thinner, thicker, thinner, thicker. And I was looking at some really cool Eastern European buildings. They have these little points on them sometimes. I wonder if that's usually buildings that have points like that. And architecture used to be to keep birds off of corners from pooping on people down below, which is really pretty cool. It's sort of common. And then even just to do it, since I'm matching up the vanishing point, oops, ruler slip, I'm going to put in a couple lines that represent my tiles there. So now I have a building in the front, and I'm tempted to overlap part of this with maybe a chimney or something, but I have a building in the front. I have a hill. Let me put a couple lines in here so I can see the pathway that goes along that edge. And then I have this other building then drops in the back here. Maybe to emphasize that, maybe there's a bridge between them, like there's a little walkway that goes like this, has thickness. I'm going to get another door over there. It might be the scale of that door. And I can, again, I'll come back to some of the other edging in detail a little bit later. Maybe I'll center that. Maybe it goes in like this. And then I can see the structure drop again here. So maybe I need to have that line's totally incorrect. So you see how I'm drawing, and I'm constantly, I went from doing rough lines, then coming back and checking some lines, right? Nothing wrong with that. All right, what I need to do is establish how this hill pathway comes out, and then how we go from here and drop down. It has to be a hill there. So one thing I could do is stairs again. So if I look at this pathway coming here, maybe that pathway comes behind that house a little bit. And when we get about here, one thing I could do is put these old wooden and then right about there, I might start to do this, bring some stairs out and then curve them going downward. Actually, that's okay. I don't mind that wooden. Let me try to get the stair in there nice. I should see the top of the stair, the bottom of the stair, top of the stair, bottom, and then I'm going to put rocks on the side of it that look like they're so top, bottom, top, bottom, top. So I'm under the horizon line. I can see on top of all those stairs. And then here, when that hits the ground like there, I'm just going to put, maybe it look like it's like thicker rocks, and then bring lines down to the ground like this. What I have to do, I need to get an edge drop off though here. So if I show like an edge like this, show that it drops, because in the back here, this is lower, and then I have that little bridge there. Hopefully that communicates that. And then sort of like the stairs, because the stairs also help point me back into my castle. Okay, but now I look at my castle and I go, wait a minute here. That might need to be a little bit larger and taller, be the key visual read. And then I might, like I was doing with John, I might then, heck, I might even make it even larger. That's sort of cool. And then I might need to come back and dumb some of this stuff down later, but that's okay. Let me just keep sketching for a minute, because I want to have houses here in front of all this. So, okay, so then I get down here, there's rock. So I want to be able to see, okay, add stairs. Let me figure this out. Add stairs. I went this way. And then maybe the stairs turn a little bit, come down that way so I could see them. I could see the platform, a rock or two, and then how it empties out into down below. So then down here, it's a hill. Hills have rocks get affected by rain. You have rocks and stuff that fall down to the ground, break up part of that spacing. Don't need that in there anymore. But now I have a line, see a city street. So now I'm thinking maybe maybe this is like a bazaar market in here type of thing. Then I'm gonna have buildings maybe behind it surrounding the city. So I might come up here and look at my scale. Someone there's about, again, it's about that tall, maybe a little bit taller. So let me start drawing some tents. People are selling stuff. There's rip tents. Maybe there's stuff hanging from there, a couple boxes in here, and let me erase some of this. I can come back to that later. Maybe I need to have, this is like a street a little bit. Maybe it opens up and we can come down here a little. Maybe then right about here, maybe we see another tent down being over. So look at the overlap from the front, overlapping. Let me show you what I mean. Oops, wrong color. This overlaps this, which overlaps that. And now I'm going to overlap one more thing right there. Try to bring me into my piece a little bit more. Overlap is key. You guys are doing it at one point with buildings. That creates a tremendous amount of depth really fast, right? So if I have these tents here, what if I come over here and I have like a little, oops, on color. Don't yawn. I heard that yawn. It's gonna make me, yawns are contagious, right?
Yeah.
I sit in meetings here on school and someone goes, and then I'm like fighting it and I'm like, and then you start to do it, I'm like, no. Don't yawn. Okay, so there's another tent there, selling some stuff. And I got lots of lines back here, so let me put in my eraser about 20%. Need to thin these down to figure out what's gonna be back here. I like having the lines in there because they're like little trace lines that allow me to see buildings. So in painting, when people paint in oils, one of the things that they do is they make a bunch of lines that go in perspective and then they brown the canvas. So you can see those lines that are like supportive that allow you to build a city or something around it, right? I think that's still important when we're drawing, not to have a big open wide canvas. So that's the thing I was telling you guys about roughing. You need to be able to just sit and rough throughout building shapes, then come back and refine them a little bit later. That's going to make your work look a little bit more realistic. So what I'm thinking is after this area here, that roof, I might try to squeeze in a street here behind it. Let me get a table here, something hanging. And then I might need some filler items in there a little bit. That was my scale reference, which is okay. This could be a little bit bigger here on the front end because I'm looking at my scale reference and I realize off. I need to come down a little bit, put a barrel here, stack of some goods. All right, I made that a little bit taller, closer to me. So now what I'm wondering, I'm going to put another layer for this. I'm thinking about having other houses back here that are smaller. So there might be like a road pathway here. Let me see if I can get some other structures here. So I'm going to make these like smaller live-in structures. And I'm going to put it all in the same. I hate drawing on separate layers because then you overlap something and you can't erase it. So I'm thinking right about here, tall roof. So I match up a vanishing point. That's the angle. I'm going to have a tall roof like this. That's going to drop down a little bit. That might be too tall. This is why I think this summer, I want to write another class. I want to do environment sketching with traditional media, where you just have to use blue pencil the whole class and Prismacolor. I think there's really a lot to learn, but the only thing that's going to suck is it's going to take a while for that class to become like a real class, I can move the castle later. Let me try to get another front-facing building. I wish curriculum was faster. So it reminds me, I have to ask a question real quick. I can't teach as many classes next term. I have to let something go. I skip, there's 3 classes and I can only do 2. So do I do character design, environment sketching, or prop design? I have to drop one. Everyone's telling me to drop environment.
No, not to drop.
Oh, don't drop?
Don't drop it.
I drop one of those 3. I can't do all. Drop prop? Or you want prop?
Don't drop prop. I want to take it. So
Everybody wants to take prop. That's what I'm hearing. So I think so then I have to decide between either character design or environment sketching. I don't know.
That's a very important, especially since people from your type of class might want to take it.
I know, but then they're only gonna let me do a certain amount of classes, I think.
The way I kind of see it is, props and environments really go together.
Yeah,
There could be a lot of overlap with prop and environment.
really don't like this shape right here. I don't know. I'll ask them. That means I'd be here. Problem is if I do it 1:30 to this problem is when would I do it? It'd be 1:30 to 3. Wait, 8 to 10:30 is 2.5 hours, right? Yeah. Yeah, so that means I could do the extra class and do it at 1:30, but then that's 2.5 hours, so that would put me at 4. So that means I couldn't do faculty senate. So let me find out. I already have a night class at night for my night students. They want me to all do the Viz Dev class so they can keep doing the stuff they've been doing. We're having a really great time in the night class, right? It's pretty cool. But they want our list soon. I don't even know if they'll let me do an extra class or 2.
Yeah.
It's not about that. It's about what's called our overload. You're only allowed to have a certain amount of overload. So, or I have to skip like basic drawing or perspective. And basic drawing, I love teaching that class. That's so much fun. You know? So I don't know. Does this help you guys seeing how I constructed this in 2-point? It got really busy, but I didn't mean for it. It just was an idea that was floating in my head, having something elevated and then dropping in, and then having this cool, like castle structure in the back or whatever. I need to get in that castle and start refining it too.
I didn't know.
For the interior sketch, do you want that in 2-point or 1-point? I can't remember.
You guys have freedom with what you're doing.
Oh, okay.
You, in the second class, you guys are working, it's more about the designs. So I'm giving you full freedom to what you want, if that makes sense. What's next coming Friday?
What time?
You're both waiting.
So you guys are- 5 a.m.
What the hell is that 5 a.m.? No, I'm gonna be sleeping at 5 a.m.
Do you guys want to get up and go draw at 5 a.m.?
No.
No, why not? That's a great time to draw.
I'm trying to leave at 5 a.m.
It's all quiet at 5 a.m. There's no distractions.
Yeah.
There's no kids running around.
Yeah. Yeah. Dang, I like art stuff, but this is what I have.
When's this?
Or not this coming Friday, but next Friday.
So there's a sale
Yeah,
at Art Supply Warehouse, right?
yes. You get there at like 4 or 5 a.m. because I've done that before and there's already people online. And then you just wait until they open at like 10 or 9 or something like that.
What the hell are you saying? It's not even gonna be there. If I am.
You guys gonna do a camp out for art supplies or what?
I've done it
Oh my
before, it's not
God.
that bad, as long as you have like a portable charger.
5 hours?
I gotta imagine it must be like
Art.
art students attacking each other to get art supplies, right?
It's funny because usually people are dropping off their kids like by a nearby school and then everybody's just staring at us while we sit on the sidewalk.
Bring a sign that says like, we'll work for food.
Yeah.
There you go. I sort of threw that castle together real quick, but maybe there has to be another, that tier might be a little too big, but that's okay.
Wait, is it free? Free stuff?
And then I'm going to put another wall over that front, like right there.
Hmm, hmm. Oh, I see. That's pretty soon. Hmm.
Maybe that's a guy's way of saying it ain't gonna happen. Right. That's a maybe.
If I
If
if
you
I can convince
Claire,
Claire, then I
then,
can
like,
convince
yeah.
Noah.
You can get Claire on board, I'm like.
All right, so last thing that I always do, I didn't do this, but I need to put a frame in there. So I'm just gonna come along the edge here. Because I want to make sure like that shouldn't be hitting anything. I have to resolve what that roof would be there. Maybe it just pops up a little bit more. Not getting the right angle on it. There we go. All right, hopefully that helps you guys. You know, what someone was asking me the other day, they said, you draw fast. And I made a comment that one of the things I did back in the day when I met Robert St. Pierre and Michael Spooner is I did a sketchbook of drawings in the whole, almost whole sketchbook. And my drawings were no bigger than 2x4. And I just did thumbnail after thumbnail after thumbnail. And I did it with a, sort of a pen like this. What do you call it? Like a ballpoint pen, because these have little trace lines on them. You know, like a Papermate, or like this guy right here. This is a Bic pen, but not in red, obviously, like in blue or black. And then I found one company, Pentel, made one that was a fine point. but it's a roller ball. It's not ink that comes out that's super heavy. It's just trace lines, right? So I could do little trace lines and then boom, I could draw anything on those trace lines and add to it. I have another, unfortunately, that sketchbook I had, I really love that sketchbook so much. When I moved to Chicago, I had a basement, and basements have something called the sump pump because it's underground. And a rock got in my sump pump. We had a tremendous amount of rain. I went down to the basement one day and there was 2 feet of water. And in the basement, I had boxes of my books and my stuff. I had a lot of art books and I had my sketchbooks. On the bottom of that was my sketchbooks I had, which were all the stuff I did after getting out of Cal State when I met Robert and Michael. And all those sketches, all those redos, those revisions, all that stuff was gone. It was all hit by water and was all folded out. I have one other sketchbook left that I started after that that's only filled about halfway. And then I have a couple of new ones that I've been doing over the past couple of years. But anyway, that really sucked when that happened. So I never knew, I didn't know what a friggin' sump pump was. I'm from California, you know, we didn't have basements out here. Sort of sucked. It is what it is. Anyway, hopefully that helps you guys. That's using measuring lines, plotting it way out, okay? So I'm gonna wrap up, record, stop the recorder so I can render it. And then I'm gonna, if anyone needs to do appointments, I'll be at the drawing event, be more than happy to look at anyone's stuff. I won't be available Friday morning down. I have some construction stuff I have to do. And then I'll be available Saturday evening and or Sunday afternoon and evening to look at stuff, okay? So if you need to make an appointment, let me know ahead of time. I'd be more than happy to do that. Question?
Did you take attendance, Phil?
I did. I did right after the break. I'll mark you here, Hector, real quick. I marked you absent, because I didn't hear.
Yeah, because I want to eat. I came back a little late from the break.
You can't leave the classroom to eat when you're online. You have to, I can't just get up and walk away and go, hey, I'm gonna go have a burrito.
Well, you said you're gonna take a 10-minute break, so I went. Oh,
Yeah,
I'll
I
be
know,
right
we
back.
did. And then we came back from the break and then I took a roll.
Hey,
Oh,
I
yeah.
went to get tamales on break. That's valid. We need food. I do the same at school.
I'm just giving you guys a hard time. Let me mark you here. Anyway, I'm gonna stop the recorder. Have a good weekend. Someone asked me, this is a rough drawing? There's no detail on it. That would be a rough. So, well, it's technically a thumbnail, but I drew it really large so you can see it. If I was doing this at home, I would do it this big. I would walk in and I would do 4 to 5 of those for a location. And I would show it to my art director. He'd pick the one that he likes the most. And then what I would do is I blow it up on the Xerox machine and then take a picture of it, put it in, and then I would clean it up in Photoshop. That's how I work all the time. Well, so if you haven't shown me any thumbnails, maybe use Friday or Saturday to do that and then start working into the rough. Having a finished rough would be great because then we could go to tone. Remember, I won't be here next Thursday. Then we come back one last week and then we want to try to wrap up 2-point and go into tone. So we're expediting the workflow because then when we come back from spring break, we will be in the first week of April. And then April, we're going to have a couple weeks then to do 3-point down shot, and then we need to get to 4-point. So that's 3 points and 3 points each to get those done. I can't talk. 3 weeks and 3 weeks to get those done in time, if that makes sense. Okay.
I love 3-point.
Me too. All right, bye guys. I got to run. Take care.
See ya.
Yeah,
Have
Phil.
a good day, everybody.
Bye.
How do I stop it? Stop share and